The Straw Hat Pirates travel to Alabasta, the desert island and home of Nefertari Vivi. They find the country in the middle of a revolution. Crocodile, the country's hero, secretly used his criminal organization Baroque Works to undermine the citizens' trust in Cobra, Vivi's father and head of the Kingdom of Sand, in order to seize the throne and the country's hidden secret for himself. The crew now has to cross the desert, stop the revolution, save thousands of lives from Baroque Works' hidden bombers, and most of all, defeat Crocodile, one of the mighty Shichibukai. Welcome to Film Friday. Released in 2007, episode of Alabasta marks a turning point in the One Piece movie franchise. Obviously, if you're familiar in any way with One Piece, you'll immediately pick up on the fact that this is not an original story, but a remake of the Alabasta arc. Now, the idea of reanimating this phenomenal arc in the series is incredibly appealing, and it's something that they have gone on to do with great success since. However, this was the guinea pig of the whole idea, and unfortunately, it really shows. So the Alabasta arc spans 8 manga volumes and was told over 38 anime episodes. Not only that, but it had been building up ever since the Straw Hats entered the Grand Line. Alabasta is the climax of a saga, and really relies on you having gone through an already incredible journey with the Straw Hats and Princess Vivi. To try and condense all of that into 90 minutes is ambitious at best and a train wreck of a story at worst. This is not a standalone One Piece movie. You really need to know exactly what happened in the series in order to be able to follow the plot. It moves rapidly and without explanation. To illustrate the pace, we begin on the Going Merry just before the crew lands at Alabasta. Then within 15 minutes, we're into Luffy and Vivi's dramatic punch-up in the middle of the desert. This moment works really well in the series because it comes at a heated point after these two characters have known one another and fought side by side in 4 different arcs already. In this film, it just falls flat. Even knowing the context, I found myself unable to invest in any sort of drama because it was 15 minutes into a movie and at that point I'm still just settling in. And this pace is kept up for the whole feature, and yeah, as somebody who knows what happened, it's easy enough to go, oh wow, they just skipped all of that and now we're here. But it's still jarring, especially if you enjoyed the material that got skipped or changed. Speaking of changes, there's a lot, which is to be expected to streamline the complex story, and most of them are fine, some of them are even kind of cool. As someone who has experienced all of this before, it's nice to look back at things with a somewhat more fresh take. And what I mean by that is a lot of little things, like originally in his first fight against Crocodile, Luffy's arm gets withered, while in this film it's his leg instead. There was no real reason to make the change other than to not repeat step by step what has already been done, which I really appreciate. However, when you make so many changes, there are bound to be some that just don't sit right. And to me, the single worst offender here is Luffy's final Gomu Gomu no Storm that finishes Crocodile. To be clear, it starts out amazingly. Luffy propelling himself into the air looks awesome, the actual storm looks far better than it appeared in the anime, but instead of punching Crocodile through solid bedrock, he ends up punching him through some sort of random tower. And with that, it just loses so much of its original impact. And I'm sad to say, but it's like that for most of the final attacks used against Baroque Works agents, but mainly due to omitted material rather than changes. For example, Zoro's entire inner journey to discover how to cut steel is removed. So when the do or die time to beat Mr. One eventually comes, he just pulls Shishi Son Son out of nowhere, and it's just not as satisfying as it should be. And just to reiterate, all of the fights are massively cut down to a couple of key moments and the finishing attack. But I do need to praise the animation in every way possible, because every second of these battles, no matter how short they are, looks beautiful. It just makes me want so much more of them. The only downside about the animation specifically is, for whatever stupid reason, during a lot of key moments, it freeze frames into a still image. Some of these moments do work better than others, like Luffy putting on his straw hat and resolving to beat Crocodile. Meanwhile, others just break a perfectly nice and fluid animation with an ugly still for no particular reason. With all of that said, if you are a long-time fan of the series, I think you'll definitely want to check this film out. However cut and rapidly paced it is, it's still a nice nostalgic look back on the Alabasta arc, and being able to revisit characters like Vivi and Bon Clair is always a welcome experience in my mind. But this is definitely not the movie you show to someone who has never read or seen One Piece before. Despite retelling one of the greatest arcs, the plot is a mess, and with the exception of maybe Vivi, there isn't a single character, including the Straw Hats, who receives reasonable development. I know I've said this a lot already, but you really need to know the material that you're going into, and for many, that might just defeat the purpose of watching a movie altogether. Why watch something you've already seen? And apart from some moments of beautiful animation, I can't exactly offer a good counter-argument to that. At least not with this particular feature remake. What I can say is that despite all of that, I still quite enjoyed it, and it's definitely one of the better produced One Piece films to this point, and I put that entirely down to sticking with the source material. There's no need for original movie characters to pop up and somehow be a threat to this established group of pirates, or weak side characters there to inspire them to fight. I will take an underdeveloped Crocodile and Vivi any day of the week over pretty much any original movie character we've seen up until this point. And it is very important to say up until this point, because very soon we'll be stepping into an era of amazing original characters. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this review. Next time on Film Friday, we'll be taking a look at episode of Chopper Plus, Bloom in Winter, Miracle Sakura. Another remake, but of a much smaller arc and with some much more, let's say, intriguing changes. If you enjoyed this video, then please feel free to like, favorite, or subscribe, and please do comment with your thoughts on the episode of Alabasta. This has been the Grand Line Review, and I'll see you next time.